I recently bought this case by this company, Rhino Shield, for my iPhone 10. Now, the thing that drew my attention to the Rhino Shield cases were the cases are actually modular. So it allows me to kind of modify the case, but more than anything, it allows me to use different lenses that will attach to my iPhone's camera that give it a wider angle. Rhino Shield is not sponsoring this video. It's just one of those things that I bought the case to be useful, and I thought it was pretty cool, so I thought I'd make a video on it. Most of the time when I'm looking at cases for my phone, I like to find the ones that have a little bit softer TPU material, they're a little bit lower profile. And the Rhino Shield case, it actually comes with a bumper as well as a back piece. And the thing that kind of concerned me about the back piece and the case in general was just that it's not really a soft TPU material. It's more of like it felt more plastic to me than an actual TPU material, which is fine if you're really careful with your phones, but I was kind of nervous because if I dropped it, I wasn't sure if it was gonna actually protect it. Rhino Shield actually claims it can absorb up to 11 feet of impact on the front of the box, but to me, I was still just nervous about it because it didn't seem like it was gonna do that. But either way, I bought the case more for functionality with the lenses rather than durability for my phone. On Rhino Shield's website, there are actually 4 lenses that you can get that you can use with whatever case you buy for your phone. I have 3 of them right here, as well as the plastic back piece, the bumper, and the lens adapter that you need for each one of the cases. Most of the lenses on Rhino Shield's website range anywhere from $25 to $60. My personal favorite is gonna be the $60 one just because it's a wide angle, but it doesn't really get distorted. It's kind of a pretty big lens, but the upside to it is it will give you a wider angle view without distorting much of the image. And even with the other lenses, like the distortion is not a huge deal, but it is nice to be able to put the lens on there, get the wider view, and not have to worry too much about the distortion. But like I said, the actual size of the wide angle lens is pretty big. I mean, compared to the other one, this is the super wide angle and this is the HD wide angle. I mean, it's big, it's noticeably larger. It'd be nice if they could get this into a package this size. But they probably can't. That's probably just something to do with the clarity, with the high definition of it, whatever the case. The super wide angle lens does actually give a much wider viewing angle, but it does tend to distort the image quite a bit, especially on the sides. And that's kind of the case with every lens, every wide angle lens. If you have a really super wide angle lens, the sides are going to be much more distorted than just the very center focus area. I do also have the fisheye lens, which actually I haven't really found a use for. I don't know why, I just haven't really had any need for the fisheye lens. Maybe I'll find a use for it down the road, but for now I mostly just use the super wide and the HD wide angle lens. While the case overall is a pretty solid case, there are still a few things that I don't really love about it. And to show what those are, I gotta put the case on, so let's throw that on and I'll show you what I dislike about the case. Now, the first thing is the case itself is kind of tough to get on. The polymer that they use to make this bumper out of, it is pretty stiff, and then the plastic back piece also just kind of adds to the difficulty of putting the case on. But I think that they had to make the case that way so that the case would support the camera lenses that are able to be attached to it. If it was a softer TPU material, I think the lenses would kind of bounce around or fall out. So the case itself has 3 separate parts. You have the bumper, the plastic backing, and then the lens adapter that goes onto the plastic backing. You can't actually use the lenses unless you have the lens adapter and the plastic back piece on. If you're just using the phone with the bumper and the little bumper piece, then you can't actually use the lenses. You have to have that back piece on with the lens adapter. So my biggest complaint about the case is the amount of lint and dust that actually accumulates inside of the camera. So the lens adapter has threads that allow the lenses to screw in there and it keeps it in place. But for some reason, just because that's dipped in a few millimeters, it accumulates every little piece of lint, dust, anything that can get in there, and it doesn't easily wipe out. I actually have to pull my shirt out and wipe it every time I use it, or get a soft cloth or something to get the lint or dust out of there. So that's probably my biggest complaint. It's just more of a nuisance rather than an actual flaw. It's just something that I have to do. And honestly, if I'm gonna be taking a picture or videoing something, it's probably better that I'm wiping my lens off every time before I use it anyway. I do also feel a little bit nervous walking around with my phone in this just because there's a lot more plastic on here than TPU. So this entire back piece, like I said, is plastic, and then you do have the polymer right here, but it is pretty hard. It's a pretty durable polymer, which kind of made me nervous. I didn't know if it was gonna offer a whole lot of shock protection, but I was surprised because the other day I had my phone in my gym shorts and I actually jumped and my phone flew out of my gym shorts and landed on the solid concrete. And it was one of those moments where I kind of just looked at it and I was just afraid to pick my phone up. But I picked it up and sure enough, you know, there were no scratches, the back wasn't broken, screen wasn't broken, there's just a small mark on the TPU of the outside, the polymer. And I mean, it offered a pretty decent amount of protection. It probably fell from 3.5 feet or so. So maybe it is a little bit more protective than I originally thought, but it still kind of makes me nervous either way. Overall, I think the quality of the cases is actually pretty solid. I was surprised with how durable they were, especially when my phone flew out of my gym shorts. And what I use them for with the lenses is actually awesome. I love having the wider angle, especially with the HD one. And to me, it was worth the price. If you do want to check out these cases, I will throw a link in the video description down below. You can actually find them on Amazon. I actually got all of mine through RhinoShield's website. With everything, with the case, the lens adapter, one of the lenses, it was about 60 bucks, so a little bit more on the premium side. But if you want the wider angle, it's worth it. Thanks a ton for watching, guys. Any questions you have, just leave them down in the comment section below. And while you're around, make sure you check out some of my other videos. We'll see you around.